Hey guys, Darko here. In this video I'll show you how to adjust picture controls for accurate image on TCL's 2023 TVs. The TV that I've used to analyze colors and picture processing is 55-inch C745 for the European market. For color and grayscale analysis, I've used Portrait Display's Calman 2023 software. Let's start. Before we jump into settings, let me show you several ways you can access settings menus, specifically picture settings menus. First, let's go through the home menu. Press home button on the remote, then go to top right corner until you see gear icon. When it is highlighted, press OK, and now you're in full settings menu. Here you need to go to display and sound, and inside you will see intelligent settings, which have some picture options, as well as picture, where you have all picture modes and settings to adjust. Second option is, if we go back to the content, so now when I'm watching content, I just need to press gear button on the remote. This will bring me this side menu, and here again I can press on settings button, or I can press on picture and jump straight to picture options which are available here. The third option is if I use quick menu with this 3 lines button on the remote. If I press it, you will see immediately in the bottom picture mode and basic tweaks for brightness. And you can also enable Game Master, so game mode, right here from this menu. Finally, third option is to use Google Assistant. So using your voice, just press microphone button or use built-in microphone in the TV. Settings. And TV will show you this full settings menu. And here you can then browse around and open whichever setting you want. As we are in full settings menu, now it's good time to start with tip number 1, which I always like to highlight. Ensure that your TV is in home mode. Now let's go not in display and sound, but in system. And here scroll until we see something called advanced settings. Right here, ensure that under usage mode, home mode is selected. You can also disable auto store mode right here. Now, if we go one step back, also I recommend that you disable sports mode because we are after accurate image and sports mode is far from that. Next tip is related to picture mode. Ensure that you're using the most accurate picture mode out of the box. And if we go to the picture menu, here under picture mode you will see different options, and by default TV will come in low power mode, which is not accurate. So based on all my measurements, I recommend that for SDR and HDR10 and HDR10 Plus content you use movie mode. For Dolby Vision content use Dolby Vision Dark. You can also use for HDR10 content IMAX picture mode, but that one is locked, you cannot tweak it. So I still recommend that you go with movie mode. However, you have this option here. You can adjust movie mode and then you can compare it to IMAX mode, because by default those two modes are practically identical. Then for gaming you need to enable Game Master, and you enable Game Master in this quick menu. You will see option right here. If you don't see it for some reason, you need to go to the edit button, and here you can check whichever mode you want. So if some option is not available and you want to add some additional option, you can do it right here. And once you're done, go up to done, press done, and that's it. Finally, in case of connecting TV to a computer where you want full color resolution for each pixel, use PC picture mode. Once you've selected the most accurate picture mode, you need to tweak its brightness. Many people complain that default picture modes are too dim, so let's show you which controls you can use to adjust it. Mainly you have brightness, which is in this quick menu, but if you go to additional picture settings menu, in addition to brightness, which you can freely adjust, and for HDR it will be maxed out, but for SDR content it will be at some lower value. You also have under advanced settings, brightness settings, additional controls. Contrast, again, it will be maxed out for HDR content. For SDR, there are specific test patterns you can use to verify if white level or contrast control is set correctly. I also recommend that you go to gamma setting and adjust it accordingly. So increasing it will dim the picture and going to negative values will make it brighter. So again, depending on time of the day, your lighting conditions in the room, you can also use this control. Another very important control, if you want the best contrast from your TV, is to enable local dimming. But local dimming is not under that name here. Instead, it is called local contrast. And on this model, C745, it offers either to be turned off, which I don't recommend, a low value which will increase contrast, but it will not completely dim areas which are without any content, and high value which will give you true blacks and best contrast of the picture. And for SDR and HDR, I recommend that you use this setting. One more tip related to brightness. If you don't want brightness to be fixed, but to be dynamically adjusted by the ambient light sensor built into the TV, then you need to open intelligent settings. And for that, you need to press settings button on the remote, go to full settings menu, go to display and sound, and here under intelligent settings, enable adaptive brightness. So it will automatically adjust screen brightness based on ambient room light. Adaptive content, I don't recommend that you use it. Instead, stay with my recommendations from this video and you will get the most accurate image. There is one additional contrast control for HDR10 content, so for content with static metadata. If you go to Picture, Advanced Settings, Brightness Settings, here you will see Dynamic Tone Mapping. So, how TV will treat levels which it cannot display? Now you have three options. Last year you could just enable this option or disable it. This year you can choose if you want tone mapping to be done by observing details in highlights, if you want brightness to be priority, so brighter highlights but fewer details, or something in between, balance value. After doing many tests and watching content, I settled with balance control, but I encourage everyone to try this control and see for themselves which works the best. My next tip is that you verify color controls and you have them sorted in color menu. Color saturation and tint I recommend that you keep at default, and it's important that color temperature is set to -5. In those most accurate picture presets, it is already set like that, so no need to touch this control. And then you also have blue light filter, which you can enable if for some reason you are experiencing some issues and you think blue light from LEDs behind the screen could be the cause. Otherwise, keep it turned off. And I want to show you one more thing. If you notice certain color being oversaturated for whichever reason, for example, red being too strong in picture and you want to reduce it, don't reduce color saturation because this will impact all colors. Instead, go to Expert Calibration, go to Color Space, and here, instead of color space set to auto, I recommend that you set it to custom and pick the color which is causing the issue, for example, red, and then reduce its saturation. So if it's color red, then reduce red number of clicks until you find that it's no longer screaming on the screen, so to speak. If you have calibration equipment, then you can also adjust white balance by going to this menu. You can adjust it for bright and dark portion of the screen using 2-points controls. And then you can also fine-tune it using 20 points for each interval, so each level, red, green, and blue controls are available. Next tip is related to proper adjustment of clarity settings. So if you go to clarity menu, you will have sharpness. And if you want picture without any artificial sharpening, then set sharpness to 0. If you're watching lower resolution content like SD or HD, then you might want to increase it a bit, but don't go more than 10 or 20, because then over sharpening will become obvious. If you want to reduce noise in analog recordings, or you want to reduce the amount of film grain, then use noise reduction control. You have low, medium, and high, as well as auto setting. It's very effective. If you want to reduce compression artifacts from digital sources like IPTV, then use digital noise reduction. It's not as effective, but it can reduce a bit those blocking artifacts and mosquito effect in the image. Finally, to reduce banding and posterization, use gradation clear. It's very effective, and you have two options, low and high. Now coming to motion controls, depending on the model of TCL's TV that you own, you will have different options. All of them you will find in motion menu. Mainly here focus on motion clarity. Once you enable it, you will see additional controls. And on TVs which have more than 60 Hz maximum refresh rate, you will have blur reduction. And to get the most details in motion, increase blur reduction to maximum value of 10. Judder reduction is here if you want to add soap opera effect in 24p movie content. So here you can tweak it at 10 levels. I prefer to watch content without motion interpolation, so I set judder reduction to 0. In addition, there is black frame insertion technique available here. It will further improve motion resolution. However, as a drawback, it will reduce maximum brightness and can introduce flickering depending on the frequency of the incoming signal. So in my case, I disabled that control. There's also dynamic acceleration, which increases screen refresh rate as well as refresh rate with option standard and performance mode. However, when I was testing gaming capabilities of this TV, I was able to get 144 Hz, HDR, VRR, and so on without enabling these two options. If you know more details about them, let me know in the comment section. In addition to clarity settings, it's important that you check aspect ratio as well as pixel mapping. To do so, go to screen settings, and here you have auto detect, which works well. And it's important that you disable overscan, because overscan will zoom in the image and you will lose some of the sharpness from the original signal, as well as you will lose details on the edges of the screen. So disable overscan. Under aspect ratio, 16:9 works well, but you have other options. So if you want to remove black bars above and below widescreen content, you can find that by choosing one of controls available here. Now coming to gaming, let me show you which options are available. If I press quick menu, here it's important that Game Master is turned on. Only then under picture mode you will have game option, and then going to picture settings you will have same controls to adjust. So by default they are already set to the most accurate level, but you might want to recheck or tweak some control if needed. If you go to all settings menu, then here under channels and inputs. Inputs, HDMI, you will have HDMI mode, and this is important for Ultra HD HDR content. To maximize bandwidth from HDMI, either set it to auto or on. And then if you want to benefit from HDMI LLM function, so that TV will automatically switch to game mode, go to System, and here scroll to Game Master, and here you can enable it or disable it or set it to on for whichever HDMI input you want. Just bear in mind that on this model, C745, only HDMI 1 supports maximum refresh rate of 144 Hz, and HDMI port number 2 has maximum refresh rate of 120 Hz. So use either HDMI 1 or 2 for gaming, and other HDMIs to connect, for example, UHD Blu-ray player or set-top box. Now if we go back to the content, to enter specific game menu, you need to long press quick menu button. And then you will see this menu on top and bottom of the screen. On top you will see information about incoming signal, and below you have several controls. You can take screenshot with and or without this interface. Game picture mode, RPG, FPS or original. For most accurate colors, stay with original. Then if you want to increase details, if you want to see better what's hiding in shadows, you have this control with which you have 9 levels to adjust. Aiming aid, if needed, you can place it at the center of the screen. And then if you want to tweak certain controls, you have options here. Aiming aid settings, you can choose shape, color and size. Screenshot with game bar hidden, you can enable here. And then if you want to disable tone mapping done several times, you enable AGIG option. And guys, that was all I wanted to share in this video. As you saw, picture menus and settings are pretty much the same as they were last year, except this year we have some additional options, for example for dynamic tone mapping, which you can fine-tune. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks to TCL Europe for supplying this unit for review and for calibration and other analysis that I did. Let me know in the comment section what do you think about this TV and TCL's 2023 range in general. And I'll catch you guys in my next video coming soon. Take care and goodbye.